Hey, yo. Hey, this is episode 112 of the Tim Weichselbaum Show. Okay, sorry, I'm supposed to talk normal. I don't know how to talk normal, but okay, this is the podcast where I present my real personality and name, so I'm not trying to talk in a goofy voice all the time. Hey. Okay, I already feel like I have to explain myself. So, actually, this is how I talk, and I don't care. I don't really have to apologize for it, even though it sounds wrong and like twisted and like you're stealing from other cultures. You're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to be using you're not supposed to steal from other cultures for when you speak yourself. But actually, there's a practicality to it. So language is all about practicality for me. Some people think it's all about aesthetics or the way it sounds, the way it's like the surface level effects of language. I care about the deep-rooted, why we're doing it sort of thing, view on language, which comes down to practicality. So you can understand me. Right? Enough. You can understand me when I say shit like that. You can understand what I'm saying. Language evolves towards whatever works to get you to the meaning. Okay, so let's just get back to the intro. Okay, so this is a podcast where the pacing of it, let's slow it down. I mean, I don't like yelling. So why the hell am I? It's like the podcast doesn't get better by yelling. I prefer to listen to stuff where people don't strain themselves while presenting material, which I'm not even doing yet. I don't even like presenting material. What the hell? Why is this going on? So I prefer YouTubers that actually talk in a very ASMR voice. So that's the opposite of what I'm doing. So in the end, they get more value for what they're putting into it. They're putting less effort in and getting better quality results. Whereas people like me, I'm trying really hard to produce something that's not even good. So, but I don't know how. That's like a skill that I don't have, of being able to just be not abrasive. I can't do it. My voice has calluses in it. My voice has literal nodules in the vocal cords, but it has barbs in it sonically. Just hearing it is like abrasive. It's like drinking poison. To hear my voice through your headphones, especially through your headphones, the better quality of the headphones, the more you could hear how abrasive this sounds. I kind of like it. I don't like sleeping. I don't like going to sleep listening to this type of shit. This is the opposite of, this is jarring. This is jarring the whole way through. There's no parts of it that are relaxing. You could just tune it out. You can. But then the silence creeps up. It's like, whoa, what the hell is this? This guy's so self-conscious of himself that he can't even become part of the background for 2 seconds. He always has to be in the foreground of my attention span because he's an asshole. He's an asshat. Asshat is a different thing than asshole. Asshole is like the worst thing you could be, but asshat just means like you're an idiot. But asshole is like the worst thing it could be. So as long as you're okay with that, that's the worst thing it could be. Besides, actual bad things. Like doing bad things, that's different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just in terms of personality. You can't get any worse than just being called an asshole. It's like, okay, I paid my price. I got the punishment. Now I'm going to keep I mean, okay, you could either adjust or some people just continue doing it. But if you get called an asshole enough times, maybe you'll have to evaluate whether it's true or not. So you go on Reddit, you go, okay, am I the asshole here or not? And you find out. People give you unbiased. It's like, okay, are you the asshole? Sometimes you might be. But if you're okay with sometimes being called the asshole, that could get you far in life because there's nothing else stopping you except for your own shame sometimes. Other people shaming you, that if that works, you might not do anything. You might just crawl back into your shell and just not do anything in life because you're afraid of people shaming you. But if you just don't care about words, if you just see, okay, that guy called me a word. Okay, well, I don't know this person. They're not in my life. They're just commenting on some information. Okay, has nothing to do with like my everyday beinghood. It's like some information being slewed around. So if you don't care about words and you care about the meaning behind them, and actually you don't agree, if somebody calls you an asshole, you just don't see it. It's like, okay, I'm not going to care. I'm not going to take that as valuable information. You just keep going towards what is true. You might actually just become a boss, like a CEO or something. Not a CEO. That's not really that interesting anymore. Who wants to be a CEO? Well, you could start something. Like CEOs are just traded like baseball players. They're not really talented on their own, in their own right. They're just talented in terms of bottom-up logic. Oh, shit, I'm starting to get angry at myself because I'm actually explaining something that's probably there's some truth to it. There's probably some truth to this, what I'm saying. There's probably some truth. That they're just good at being upper management. They're not good at creating things from the bottom, from scratch. Like not even Elon Musk. He's not doing that. He's just investing in other people at this point to make his ideas a reality. The hard part is making it all yourself, like in the garage, before any investors come into the picture. Who the hell wants some fucking investor coming into the picture? You know how I gave you $1 million and now I own 20% of your shit, not even started company? Yep, now you work for me. Well, can't I just quit? Can't I just exit the company now and keep my stake? Yeah, you can, but we'll be pissed off. It will probably sue you for all of it back. Fuck yeah, no, it just failed. The business failed. And by that, I mean, I just decided to exit the business. I mean, yeah, it failed. Naturally, it failed. But that's not what I did. That wasn't me. I just left the business, which I started and was the only one doing everything. So, yeah, of course it failed. But you can't sue me for something I didn't do. Not my fault. Your fucking investment failed that I exited. It's not my problem anymore. I was just the guy who started the damn thing. I don't know. I feel like you would just get sued. That's why I don't really have any interest in that shit. In like venture capital. In like the Silicon Valley. It's like, okay, if you're in the IQ range of 120, I could see that being a fun little Three Stooges type of game to play of trying to get venture capital and equity in a startup. That wasn't even cool when it was cool. Like Facebook was the peak of that, of startupism, and look how lame that shit is in retrospect. It was cool at the time. It's like, oh, he started a website, and it went from colleges absorbed it, and that made it hip. And then, but of course, it's not just for colleges. Fucking. Of course, everybody's gonna want social fucking media. It's fucking just one of those obvious things that somebody was going to do. If it's a good idea, you don't need fucking venture capitalists. What the fuck? You just need a couple of $100,000 to cover the servers and really good engineers that don't even cost that much back in the day. Back in the day, 20 years ago, which it wasn't that long ago, all things considered, what happened to that 20 years? Hundreds, trillions of dollars exchange hands. It was an obvious idea that people wanted social media in a way that was more clever than MySpace. All it was a upgraded version of fucking MySpace. There's nothing fucking, I don't know, I'm cursing. So there's nothing that interesting about Facebook. It was just a more exclusive, more professional iteration of something that already existed. Even that hot or not thing wasn't his idea. That existed before fucking Zuckerberg. That existed in 1999. Not the exact version that he made. It was just like some other bullshit. Who the hell knows? It wasn't like personalized. It wasn't just like in Harvard. But of course there were websites that let you rate girls. Anyway, he's a genius still. To actually do that, yeah, that still takes fucking genius and executive function, which not every genius has. Okay, let's start the show. So we're going to start the show by talking about intelligence and genius, I guess, because most people don't even know what it is. They just go, "Oh, that guy must be a genius or something." There's no like definition of it. Okay, yeah, there isn't. I'm not trying to define it. I don't have an exact definition of it. You know it when you see it. But you have to prove it to other people, right? So it's like one of those things that's very hard to validate or measure, even if you're the genius. You don't know it. You don't know if you're smarter than other people. And the smarter you are, the less you think you're smart, because you see how hard it is to actually prove. Like, you could be a fucking genius, but if you can't translate the things you're thinking of, as genius and original as they could be, if you can't translate them to the common folk, or to anybody for that matter, is that genius? It really isn't, because anybody could have a fucking brilliant thought. So what? How do we know? It could be true that you have a brilliant thought where you solve the meaning of God, but how's that valuable to anybody else if you can't write out that experience and model it in a way that's substantial to people? And that's what poetry is. Okay, now my headphones turned off so I can't hear myself, but it doesn't matter because I could talk without hearing myself. So poetry is just a model of a experience that brings something from one mind to the other. It's a transfer of information. It's a transfer of experiential information. It's like sensory conscious experience being transcribed or inscribed or translated, whatever words you want to use for it. It's all the same thing. Is you're taking data and translating it into another form of language. That's all anything is, which gets very tedious. Once you say something like that, then it's like, whoa, you just said something that sounds like you're saying everything can be put into this box. Well, yeah, everything could be put into this box. So what? Does that mean, okay, so now what? I have to explain just that one premise, this one logical premise of everything could be explained as what? A language being translated to another language. So that's pretty not hard to understand, I think, right? Yes, it is still hard. See, you have to know how other people are going to listen. Like, you have to have empathy for how, not dumb, how uninitiated other people are. Some people are just too dumb. to understand what you're saying, even if you say it in slow, simple English. Some people just aren't able to go on the ride mentally, and that is an intelligence capacity limitation. Where's my goddamn... I don't even have the patience to go through all this shit. I'm not the most patient person, like to focus on one thing at a time. It's like, okay, well, let's learn about this one subject until there's nothing else. But that is something that you do if you're hyper-focused on something. It's against my will. It's like, whoa, that's interesting. Well, that's interesting. And if you have the energy to keep searching and seeking the answer to whatever you're interested in, you might actually hit a fucking pot of gold or something. It'll just keep going until it becomes a hobby more than an interest. And then it becomes your job. Then maybe it becomes your career. That's how it should work. Careers should start as interests and then flourish into hobbies and then jobs, and then enough jobs form a career. That's how everything should work. Every career should start as an interest. Okay, so I'm at the point where I had a little interest, and now 10 years later, it's my, not my job. It's a research project. That's one of my jobs. Not full-time. It's only part-time, but I spent at least 30 hours on it in the past week alone. So it's like, what is full-time? I work like 14 hours a day. How much is that a week? It's a shitload. So 30 hours is only like a couple days. It's like 2 days. So I spent 2 days on one project that's a scientific project, not pseudoscientific. I guess I'll call it pseudoscience. Who cares? If you call yourself a real scientist, then people will be like, whoa, you didn't go to college. Well, he's a fraud. So yeah, didn't go to college, but I'm not really selling anything. I don't really care. It's like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's like, I don't care. It's like one of those things about how people they're gonna talk shit, even if you're doing well. They're gonna talk shit. There's such a thing as jealousy. It's like, if you call somebody out for being jealous towards you, usually people will be like, oh, you think they're jealous? You just look like an egomaniac. But actually, a lot of people are jealous of pretty much anybody with success. Doesn't matter who you, like, what type of success it even is. If you're just a little bit successful even, 90% of the world is going to hate you, or at least resent you, right? Ellen DeGeneres. What did she do to hurt anybody? Nothing. She didn't do anything to hurt anybody, but everybody all of a sudden hates her because she's been a little bit too famous for just a little bit too successful for too long. If you just have a nice car, like a $30,000 car, people will be like, yo, what do you do for a living that you get to afford a two-door car, whatever, two-seat car, something not practical? What the fuck? I just am slightly better off than you. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I work hard. Sorry. It's like, how the fuck do you apologize? Okay. How do you apologize for just being a little bit better off to somebody when you're the one working your ass off and they're fucking twiddling their dick thumbs? They're twiddling their dick. I don't got time to twiddle my dick. The reason I do that ever is to relieve all the fucking stress of the work that I'm doing for 14 hours a day. I work 14 hours a day. Anyway, so I kind of feel like I deserve some better offedness than somebody who's not doing shit. And also the work, okay, now I'm sounding like I'm just complaining. I'm just So the work, also on top of it, here's another reason why I don't feel the need to apologize for anything, is because the work I'm doing is not just self-involved. It's pseudoscience for other people to enjoy, like Joe Rogan, and people that just like pseudoscience. I don't know. I'm not doing I'm actually like I hate to say it because it sounds retarded. So I won't. So anyway, let's move on. So I'm here. I'm going to present some of the work that I've been doing because I could just talk about it without anything in front of me. But it's too complicated for me to kind of understand. I don't really know what I'm doing, so I have ChatGPT do everything for me. So I'm not really involved in the science. I'm just clicking buttons around on my computer screen, and the output comes out, and then I send it back to AI, and then AI says, okay, yeah, it worked. Now we're ready to do this. It's like, okay, are you sure? Are you sure? And then it actually goes deeper into it and explains, yeah, we got all this done. We got gigabytes of data. It worked. We're ready to move on to the next step. I didn't even talk about what I'm doing. So I'm doing a neuroscience project that is an actual experiment. It involves actual experimentation. It's a hypothesis that involves actual data crunching. So it's called in silico. Like, now there's in vitro for like certain experiments. I don't even know the other ones. There's in vitro. There's something ex vitro or some, and there's in silico, which just means in the computer. So we're modeling something using computers and GPUs and AI and machine learning that's been around for many years. It's not totally, it's modern, state of the art. Anyway, to actually test whether the hypothesis is true. So I actually am qualified. I don't know. I guess I'm not qualified. I'm just some asshole. I'm just some idiot who went online and followed an inkling that I didn't know where it was going. I just kept researching, and it landed. It actually got me to where I figured something out. I figured something out that lends itself towards a complete framework of nature. So like a theory of everything. In so many words, like that's what I did. I figured out something that's universally true for every phenomenon known to man. Everything can be described under this rubric that I figured out. And how did I come to this rubric? Neuroscience. So it's based on reality. It's based on data. Not just like, no, I came to this with the help, only with the help. I couldn't have done it. Gee, why am I yelling? Why do I have to yell? The mic is picking me up. So I figured this out exclusively through the help of modern fMRI studies. And what does that mean? fMRIs are MRIs that tell you not just the structure of the brain, but also what's lighting up in the brain during certain situations. It tells you the functioning of the brain, what structures are being activated during certain activities. So that's how we know which parts of the brain do certain things. So I looked into, It's really boring. I don't really want to retrace the whole fucking thing here. It's going... I already talked about this on previous episodes. I've been doing this for over 10 months. It's been almost 10 months, since I started this. So I don't really want to start from the beginning, but the point is I figured out through logic and a lot of fMRI studies that the brain, oh my God, it's so complicated. Everything's a language to the brain. Everything is a language. There's nothing that's not a language. Everything like a light coming into your head has to be categorized as some meaningful thing, right? You have to go, oh, that's a green light. That's what your brain does in order to know what anything is. Like, what is that? Oh, it's a light. Has to put it into a unified language. So the brain takes in different kinds of data. It takes in visual data. It takes in sensory input. That's like sensory motor input, which is just motor movement. The way that your body is configured, kinesthesia, whatever, sensory motor input. And then there's other shit like taste and touch, whatever. It's all, you get it. You know what senses are, right? There's vision, there's sound. So we know what the 5 senses are, right? So that data all has to be unified under one rubric to the brain. The brain has to unify it into like one sentence. Like, okay, I am currently standing in a room that's lit up. That's a unified sentence. The brain does that with disparate inputs. Different modalities have to somehow be combined into a native, singular language, whatever that might be. It's happening in your brain in a flash of understanding. Somewhere I am starting to believe, according to data, this happens somewhere in the frontoparietal something. It's not a lobe. It's a frontal parietal section of the brain. It includes different lobes. It's not just one lobe. It includes many structures, but it's in the front of the brain, frontoparietal. And this is where stuff gets integrated into one unified meaning. And this is a linguistic process, like I just did. Okay, I'm in a room. How do you do that? How do you get to that conclusion? Well, it takes all sorts of inputs, but it came to one unified sentence. You don't even have to speak that sentence. You could just kind of know it in a flash of understanding. That's still, it's a flash of understanding in a sense that it's unified. So we took all these separate, disparate, cross-modal input streams of data, and we combined them into one domain general sentence. I am standing in a room. The brain does this without actually having to say it out loud, but it happens, and then it can be translated into some other language, English, but it's being mapped to something that's lower level and that is sensitive to different modalities below the frontal parietal area. It has to do that to get to the part of the brain that's more primitive, that's feeding data back up. It's like a bottom up and top down phenomenon. Consciousness happens somewhere in the middle, where this top down information is meeting this bottom up sensory information. It has to be mapped to some unifying place in the brain. And this is talking about the binding problem in consciousness. It's one of the hard problems of consciousness. I'm not sure if I'm going to solve it, but this is one of the ways to study my hypothesis. Holy shit, this is fucking exhausting, dude. So it really is exhausting to talk about this or to just think about the same thing. Thinking is talking. I don't know if you know this. When you're actually forming like cohesive thoughts in your head, like sequential, linear, linguistic thoughts in your head, you might as well be talking. Yeah, it takes more muscles, but all of that exhausting work is happening in your frontal, the place I just said, the frontal parietal cortex. There's a thing called the Broca's area. That's where the thoughts are actually turned into this unified stream. It's a very important part of your brain. Without it, you wouldn't really be able to do anything. You'd be completely dumb. You wouldn't be able to express yourself. You would still have some consciousness, but you wouldn't be able to express any of it, and it would suck. Without your language areas, you wouldn't be a person. You are your language. What languages you know is everything you are and ever will be. You are not anything without your languages. And just being conscious is the experience of a language. That is a language being spoken. There's never not a language being read or translated if you're alive and conscious. If you just stare at a wall, taking in, oh, that's green, that's green, that's green. That's a semantic loop being fed into a sequence, a circuit, and ending at a meaning, ending at a point B meaning is like, that is green. But you're taking in this continuum of data. That's a linguistic process. Language gets you from point A to point B. What is really happening in language? Meaning is being translated to some other pattern, some other kind of language. This is what anything is. Translation is how we get from point A to point B. Even driving is a linguistic process. Why? Because things are changing. The X and Y coordinates are changing. That's language. Something can be measured relative to something else. That's language. Anything that has to do with meaning, you can't get there without a language. So what am I? I don't know. I'm not a linguist. You're not qualified to talk about this if you're just a linguist. You have to also kind of know about quantum physics. You have to know about computer science. You have to know about neuroscience to get what I'm saying here. If you know a little bit about that, maybe you'll be like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Because information really is everything, every system that there is. What is it? Well, it processes information. Oh, okay. Whether it's a quantum system or a brain or a galaxy or a cell, what is it? Well, it's something that processes information. What's a virus? Well, it's something that processes information and reproduces based on that information, translates information to another piece of another medium. Oh, okay. What's an animal? Well, it's something that processes information and then converts it into new information. Oh, okay. What's a house? I don't know. It's something we made up. It processes information. What's a sentence? Well, it's something that encapsulates information. When you look at the components of it, it's little bits of information. When you zoom in on those little bits of information, they contain little bits of information. And those little bits of information that those things contain are little bits of information. The process little bits of information. Words, letters, the little bits that make up the letters are all little things that process. So it's fractal. Isn't that cool? And that's what humans are. Okay, so you got the whole human. Okay, that's a human. You zoom in, you got the cells. Okay, what is that? It's little bits that make up more bits of information. That's how everything is. Atoms, you zoom in on atoms. Molecules, you get to atoms. Atoms, is that it? Just one little thing? No, you zoom in on that. There's little bits of information, exchanging information. What's beyond that? We get to quarks. Okay, so there's quarks. What's below quarks? We don't fucking know. Gravity is involved somewhere way below quarks, so we know that there's something else going on below quarks, because gravity is way below quarks. Way below quarks. To get to gravity, you have to be like tiny, teeny, tiny below quarks. You have to be even smaller than quarks to know what the fuck gravity is, because it's the same thing of space and time. It's the same thing. It's part of that. We don't know what the fuck space-time is. Okay, we're about 36 minutes into the show. Let's get into the actual meat of the show. So I'm still setting up the experiment. So we're getting to this general domain area of the brain where I call the semantic workspace. It's a unified semantic workspace where everything becomes unified. So I don't remember. I'll just have Chat GPT tell you what's going the fuck on here. So the overall verdict doesn't have nothing to do with. Oh, this is about the data. So we need a lot of data. It's so fucking boring, dude. Data science. So to do this, you have to be pretty much just a genius. To contribute to this project, you have to pretty much just be a genius. Or just a German person. German people are pretty much just geniuses compared to the average American. So just hire a German person, they're pretty much qualified. Let's talk about it. So anyway, you have to also be a data engineer. You have to know about, software and hardware and open source software. Good luck. And then you have to make sure that you have to actually understand what's actually coming out of the software. Good luck. So that's why you have ChatGPT. I wouldn't be able to do this without it. So then there's this shit called the workflow, this thing called RSA. What the hell is that? So we're going to have to, so after we do the first thing where we pre-process all this vision data and narrative data, which is where the subjects, so I have to download MRI data that's publicly available because I'm not a scientist. I can't just get the real the private shit. So I had to download gigabytes, hundreds of gigabytes worth of MRI data raw for hundreds of subjects doing many different tests on listening to narratives. So that's being pre-processed, and I got to do it for visual MRIs, different subjects, different modalities. And then we pre-process all that data so that it's all the same. It processes it into a unified data set that can then be processed in another phase, and this is where the real science happens. So after that long process, which is going to take weeks and a shitload of processing power that's going to cost money, then we do this thing called RSA. So then we extract feature spaces using both for language and visual. So we extract the feature spaces, meaning the parts of the brain that light up when certain qualia or sensory inputs go in. So we got temporal, so we got to do it for vision and language using clip, VIT activations for each movie still a frame. We got language, GPT style embeddings. So we actually are going to have to use something like Chat GPT to align the embeddings for transcripts. And then we do temporal alignment, where we downsample the clip frames to the fMRI TR, and then we convolve language embeddings with HRF, or we do FIR. And then we compute within subject RDMs in each RI. RI stands for something of interest. I don't even remember what the R stands for. So something of interest, voxels, and then we got to do the cross-modal comparison, where we do vision RDM versus language RDM per subject, and then we get second-level stats. So that would be the end thing we do. We compare. So I'm not doing a good job of explaining this because I don't understand it. It's very technical. Probably the most technical thing I've ever been involved in or orchestrated in my whole life. So 4 suggested mitigation plan. Add NOD 30 subjects, parallel download study forms. Run the pilot RSA, compute noise ceilings for narratives. Evaluate whether weighted group level RSAs, narratives. It's not helping. If SC is still high, cherry pick. Find the best subjects. 3 terabytes. Okay, yeah, that's not helping. Maybe this will help. What each alternative actually does, how these differences propagate. This is getting into the data sets, decision matrix, skipping anatomy. We're not skipping anatomy. Okay, so this is not helpful. Okay. So I asked it to explain. No one's going to watch this. What the hell am I doing? So I asked it to explain what I'm doing in a way that a college prep kid could understand. Because I don't want to explain it for somebody that's in college, right? That's too high level. So big picture goal, what are you trying to find out? Okay, Jesus Christ, this is exhausting, man. So your brain can watch a movie or listen to a story and still end up understanding the same idea. We want to know where in the cortex those two very different streams, pictures versus words, finally match up. Our hypothesis says that there is a north to south gradient on each hemisphere. There's the control zone, which is high up behind your forehead, and this thinks in very abstract terms. It doesn't care whether the input was an image or a sentence. And then we got the integration zone, which is middle, just in front of the ears. It blends information coming from multiple sentences. And then we got the binding zone, which is low and back, near the visual cortices, and that's still tied to exact colors, shapes, and phonemes, so that's more low level. So that's a gradient of abstraction going from highly abstract to low level actual, like real life sensory inputs. So there's a continuum, the spectrum. So of functionality, of semantics. If that's true, what I just said, the brain activity patterns for lion, guitar solo, or democracy should look most alike across vision and language in zone 1, and a bit less alike in zone 2, and hardly alike at all in zone 3. So in essence, all those different ideas, lion, guitar solo, and democracy, you could talk about them all in the same sentence because we have the ability to do that in our frontal cortex through abstraction. Language is a form of abstraction. So how we test this idea? This is where it gets a pain in the ass. So to actually test what I just said, if that is anywhere close to true, sounds great on paper, but science, they kind of actually want to see data. So we got to collect the data, which I already did for narratives and for the visual scans. So we got that. That gives us real human brain activity for words and pictures. Then we got to clean each brain. I already did that with a few subjects, only 3, took hours. About 6 hours just to clean the brains of 3 people. So that used high-resolution anatomy scans to strip the skull, map every fold and valley, and align each brain to a common 3D template. And that ensures that voxels are in one subject point to the same spot in another, critical for fair comparison. You think I would have been able to do this on my own? 3, extract meaning vectors. So now, this is the fun part. I'm not even at this part yet. This is where we're going to run large language models on every sentence, get a 768 number, that vector, that represents its meaning. So the vector is going to have 768 dimensions to represent the meaning of some sentence. That's what language models do. And then we're going to run a vision model, clip, on every image to get another 768 number vector. And then we're going to put pictures and sentences in the same mathematical sequence, and then C, or space, not a sequence, it's a space, it's a mathematical vector space, to see how similar those two cross-modal inputs are. And then there's a lot more steps after this. Holy shit. And then we have to sync the vectors to fMRI time, which means, okay, we're just going to match each 2-second brain snapshot to the texture image shown at that moment. Then smooth for the sluggish blood flow signal. What the fuck? And then that links outside the head meaning with inside the head activity. What the fuck? You could do that with just computers. And then we're going to compare the patterns. This is the RSA part. For every tiny cube of cortex, which is a voxel, we're going to build a fingerprint. How strongly does this voxel respond to lion versus guitar versus democracy? Do this, and then we do the same thing using the vectors, correlate the two fingerprints. What the A high correlation means that the voxel organizes concepts the same way the model's meaning space does. So if we accomplish this, that means we are simulating the brain with our computer model. Test the gradient prediction. This is the next step. We have to plot the correlation strength as we move from control, integration, binding zones. I already explained what those were. That's the continuum of abstraction levels throughout the brain. And then we run statistics to see if the drop-off is monotonic and significant. And this would confirm or refute the main hypothesis. There we go. And there's one more step after this, which is quality and replication, where you repeat the whole thing with extra vision data sets. And within subject, movie, plus audio, and then publish code, pre-registration, and unthresholded brain maps. So I would, of course, have to publish everything. This shows the effect is real, not a fluke from one sample or one pre-processing choice. So there you go. That's the whole experiment. Very... Do I have to say what technical? It's more than technical. It's like the most. You have to have you have to be extremely specialized in this field to know what the hell any of this fucking means. This is more than one field. This is interdisciplinary. You have to know about cognitive neuroscience. You have to know about data science, computer science, LLMs. You have to know about artificial intelligence. I don't know. You have to know about a lot. Why the anatomical step is worth the extra hours? Yeah, because it is. I don't have to explain why. So what would a positive result look like? A graph that starts high in prefrontal cortex, zone 1, slopes down through anterior temporal lobe, zone 2, and approaches 0 in primary visual area, zone 3. So it's going to be graphed. It's going to be quantized or on an empirical graph to prove, hey, okay, it's not just a hypothesis anymore. There's actual evidence. Hard evidence. In silico. It's really hard to refute. I mean, yeah, you could, of course, say that it's flawed. You could say, no, you didn't do it right. But once that's audited, once it's peer-reviewed, and they can't find anything wrong with it, yeah, then it's like, well, okay, yeah, this is science. That's what science is. It's where there's quantitative data that can't be refuted. Okay, guess it's kind of worthwhile. And then it will not get published anywhere because I'm not a scientist. But of course, this would be something that would be publishable once it's done. And so, yeah, I'm working with another scientist, a scientist, not another scientist. I'm working with a scientist. And I can only afford so much. You know, I'm not like a billionaire. You know, that'd be all. If I was like rich, this would be like more than just one person talking about this right now. I would have somebody in a lab coat sitting right where that bass guitar is, talking right back to me like, yep, you are a genius. You're right. That is correct. Everything he's saying is correct. But since we don't have that person, you're just going to have to take my word for it. But if you just listen to what I just said, I just kind of like, it's kind of like not Harvey Weinstein, Brett Weinstein. Same thing. Whatever his fucking name is, the guy that is like a huge narcissist and doesn't actually contribute to science, but talks as if he's like Eric Weinstein. So that guy is a fucking, not a real scientist, like he's a fake phony. Maybe not. I'm not anybody to be like, oh, he's a phony. But he's somebody that doesn't know how to communicate his ideas. As good or bad as they are, we don't know. Because he doesn't know how to communicate them. The people that do understand his ideas say that they're a load of horseshit. So maybe, I don't know, he's not really somebody that I really look up to in that sense. Like if somebody told me what I was doing was horseshit, who actually kind of has a PhD in neuroscience, I would maybe kind of rethink this. So I don't know why I brought him up, but I kind of guess I sounded like him for a minute there. So it's not about how smart you sound. It's about whether the things you're saying are actually kind of true. He likes to use big language to sound smart when he's not saying anything that you needed to use big language for. I need to use large language models, but you don't have to use big, fancy sounding words to explain yourself. So, okay, I'm starting to get hoarse. So that's one of the projects I'm working on for about 30 hours a week. I'm also doing other things like developing 3 apps. No big deal, just developing 3 commercial apps as a single developer. I mean, no big deal, but I'm just kind of like doing what about 4 Zuckerbergs would do on their own. I'm only about doing what about 4 billionaires do. But anyway, you gotta work as hard as 4 billionaires if you're not a billionaire. Once you're a billionaire, you could relax a little bit. But if you're not a billionaire, you gotta work as hard as 4 billionaires. Okay, so that's that. It's really exhausting. Really exhausting to just talk about with yourself. Like, so I'm doing this extremely technical, time-consuming, resource-intensive scientific experiment. Yeah, you kind of want to bounce the ideas back and forth with somebody else instead of just talk about it with yourself. So let's talk about something else before you get off the show. See, I don't really have to talk about boring shit because I actually have cool shit going on. Okay, so but I don't really even want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about the 3 apps I'm working on. They're boring. I mean, they're not. They're cool, but do I want to talk about it? No. It's so boring. I've been working on them for 30 hours a week. Okay, it's the weekend, man. Yeah, I have a cool job that's fun to talk about, but still work. Still fucking shitload of work. Fucking exhausted, dude. Okay, so let's go back right into this. Holy shit, I don't want to read that. Okay, I don't want to do any science. I would need, this is about the person I'm looking for, if I were to hire another person for IMRAD. And yeah, so it is exhausting to study the brain because you're studying the thing that you're also using to study the thing you're studying. So your brain can only keep up with itself, right? The brain cannot overlap itself, right? So it's very exhausting. How do you study the brain when you are the brain? The brain is studying itself. So yeah, it's going to get tired of doing that. It's pretty nuts that the brain doesn't even know how it's working. The brain is me right here. Here I am. I'm a brain. I don't know what the hell's going on in there. I don't know which parts are being used for what. Yet here I am. That's how every single brain is. It doesn't know what the hell it is. It just knows that it has a job. It takes information, it gives it else. Every neuron is just doing the same thing as every other neuron. It's okay, I see a bunch of information. I guess I'll fire. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, I guess I'll do it again. Oh, that guy's fired? All right, okay, I'll fire too. That's it. Every little neuron is just doing that. They're just okay. That's their whole life. They don't know what the hell's going on outside of the whole system. They don't know what the hell other parts of the brain are doing. That's how everything is. Communication is the problem with every problem. Every system is suffering from some translation problem or some bottleneck due to some misunderstanding of how, it takes effort. It takes intelligence to translate information from one language to another. It takes energy too. So that's where it gets into physics. you can't have anything without physics. You can't have a thought without physics. Okay, we're done. I didn't want to do a whole show about science. I mean, that's really like not my forte. But it is right now. I'm just an app developer who's doing like coding for like 100 hours a week, including weekends, and burning out my eyes. Like my corneas are burnt out. The muscles that focus on things are burnt out. I'm probably going to have glaucoma in 10 years. I'm probably not going to be able to see in 10 years. My hands are already probably going to have arthritis. So, I'm killing myself. I'm working myself to death here. So I better. I don't care, actually. I don't care if I get anything. I'm probably going to die before anything happens where I get any credit for any of the shit I figured out. But that's fine, because I'm doing it for the fun of it. I'm not doing it for like the prize. And I am kind of doing it for to help people. Like, this is bigger than me. Like, this will actually help with understanding disease, like problems with the brain, like Alzheimer's and shit like that. If you're into that type of thing, I guess I am kind of working towards something very wholesome and, I don't know, whatever the word is, noble. I guess I am working towards something that would get me a Nobel Prize. Theoretically, it is pretty noble what I'm doing, but I'm not saying I'm a hero. Like Nathan Fielder, he's like I'm not calling myself a hero. But if somebody called me a hero, I'd be like, yeah. That's how all Jews are. Every Jew wants to save the world, and we're not. So that's why we're angry. So, okay. I just gave you something that's, now you know. That's what explains it. That explains why every single Jew is a little bit of an asshole. It's because they're not saving the world like Jesus did, and they have the same DNA as Jesus. So of course, they want to be like Jesus. So the next time you see a Jewish person, don't go up to them, but just give them space. Because they want to be Jesus, and they're not ever going to be. That's the funny, poetic slap in the face. That's the poetic justice of when you are blessed with a high IQ or whatever, you're probably not going to be treated as somebody better than it just because you're smarter. That's like the most valuable resource in the world. People are going to hate you for being smart, not like you. Oh, your guy's smart. Let's follow him. No, they're going to hate you. Everybody hates smart people. It's the most valuable resource. Smart intelligence. That's it. Money? No. Intelligence, because that gets you money in a lickety split. All you need is somebody's password, and boom, you got their whole bank account. That's intelligence, not money. Money doesn't get you more money. Intelligence gets you more money. This was a bad episode, but I at least gave information that wasn't just bullshit to some. At least it was actually somewhat educational.